pertaining to the golf course. According to this, at present, the city's knowledge, the sale of the Kahuku golf course has not yet been completed. However, it was noted that the transaction was between private entities. Okay. Right now it's public. When the two private entities get involved, they're going to turn it into a private golf course. Right now we only have two, Makalena and Pali. We need more public, so more people can play without paying the big bucks to go on a private course and play. I played with people from Mililani come all the way down to Kahuku to play golf. Because Mililani is not cheap, okay? It's not cheap. I cannot understand why the mayor never gives this more priority.
As I reiterated at or as I explained at the last neighborhood board meeting, the course is currently, the land is private, and it's being sold right now to another private owner. To my knowledge, it has not been completed yet, because the city leases that on a year-to-year basis from the current owner. So if a sale is made, they would have to notify the city that the sale has been made, and it has not been done to date, to my knowledge. And I've asked the Department of Enterprise Services, which runs the golf course, to notify me if that happens, so that I can let the community know. So if the sale goes through, it's not that it's going to go from public to private. It will still remain private, and that lease will still stay in effect unless something changes with it at that time.
Mr. Iseki brought up a good question regarding the Kahuku golf course, and I regret not asking you earlier. I personally think, as a representative from Kahuku and a golfer, well, ex-golfer I should say, that the city may have missed an opportunity to add to its park and land resources for a growing community. If we're going to be growing, we need to be setting aside places for the community to recreate, including golfing. So now there is no public links from the Pali to Westlock, and that's like 2/3 of the island. And so it really is taking away an opportunity for the community to golf, for those of us who like, well, for those folks who like to golf. And I know that we went over this before, that Continental Pacific had paid, I think, was it 11? Oh, it was for sale for $11-something million
11.
to the city. The city didn't pull the trigger on that, and we did inquire about it, and then they came back and said that there was hidden fees and costs involved. The same argument that people in Kahuku that are being evicted, there's hidden costs involved. So, in fairness to the community, and in an effort for us to try to motivate the mayor, because Kahuku Community Association had sponsored a resolution to condemn the property or for the city to take it, and this body here voted unanimously, as did the city council. We've got the community of Oahu telling the mayor, asking the mayor to add some more recreational areas for the community, yet he fails to do so, and is focusing on other projects that must be higher priority than the wellness and well-being of golfers or citizens. Can you come back with a number? Finally, I get to the question. Can you come back with a number regarding the additional sources the additional amounts of funds needed to bring that piece of property under city ownership or public ownership?
Sure. Let me just respond to a couple things. One, I do just want to clarify, and I think you understand this, but I just want to make sure it's clear. It's not the city's property that they're selling. It's a private property. And so, there has to be a willingness for the private entity to sell to the city, for one. And then two, the city has to be in a position to do that. And I did follow up since the last meeting, just trying to further understand the complexity of the situation. And the money that was set aside by the council out of the Clean Water Fund, Health Preservation, was $3.5 million. So even if the entity was willing to sell, the private entity was willing to sell for $11 million, that still leaves the city well short, aside from the hidden fee, these additional fees to get it up to a golf course. So even if the city had the strong desire to just purchase the land and land bank it, or just keep it as open preservation, there still has to be the funding there to do that, and it's just not there. So that's the challenges that are faced with being able to do it. It's not that the mayor is just saying, well, I don't want to condemn it even though the money is there, I don't want to purchase it. It's the funding isn't there, and there hasn't been, the Continental Pacific is selling it to another private entity. If the city had it right now as its own piece of property, they would not be, looking to sell it or change it from the golf course. That's not the desire of the administration. So it's a difficult situation, and I know there's a desire for, to keep recreation spaces and open spaces where we can, but it just has to be something that, is able to be done.
Question from the audience.
I wonder if these questions were posed by residents from a slightly more affluent, influential community such as Kailua or Hawaii Kai, if the desire for recreational space might be seen as a higher priority, such as resurfacing roads is a higher priority in those areas than here. I asked you that. I believe it would, and I'd ask you to consider that.
Okay.
I've come to these meetings for a long time, sir, and I think I've heard many times, there is no money for a skate park, there's no money to fix up the community park, there's no money for our community park lights, even though we don't have a full-size Kahuku District Park in the first place, because there's no money for it. But we certainly do want to have more people living up here that we will have no money to service. That is really an unfortunate answer to be delivered to the public of this side.
To answer your question, it's no. That's not the case. And I can tell you specifically with regard to roads, because that is a project that I do work closely with in the administration, that the roads that are repaved are done based on an index survey, that analysis that's done of every road, and they're done on a priority of need, regardless of area. That's exactly how they're done.
Any other questions, sir?
I have a question. We know that the mayor used a copyrighted phrase, "keep the country country," when advocating for his train set in town. And I was curious, we know that keeping the country country does not mean massive development in Laie to the mayor because he supports that. We know it doesn't mean massive development at Turtle Bay Resort because we know he supports that. What exactly does keep the country country mean to the mayor and the city administration?
I'll be happy to, get an answer for you and report back, but I would encourage you to come to Tuesday's town hall and pose it directly to the mayor, and I know he would be happy to answer.
Thank you.
Jim?
Am I correct in saying that we have this month-to-month, now this golf course is on a month-to-month for years and years, 122 acres of beachfront started by the plantation people in the 1930s. They cleaned it all up, made it into a golf course. The city council has unanimously adopted a resolution to work with the owner or to go through the government process. And it was unanimous, okay? And Continental Pacific, according to the council chair, was very willing to work with the council, okay? So the problem I see is we have a mayor who is either does not care about this region or he's so disjointed, because the biggest issue that we have heard, that I have heard, is that the reason why the mayor is not helping is because the attorney who is representing Continental Pacific, the owner, was his campaign chair, okay? So in that context, is there anything else you can do to look out for the public interest? Because it's a very beautiful and iconic golf course. I would hate to see it go into the hands of a Chinese investor.
There is a piece of legislation coming through council. It's a charter amendment which would ask the public to vote on whether they would like to have whether they will want the city to, once a condemnation resolution is approved, that within 90 days it is enacted, basically. So for in our case, we have passed a couple of resolutions to condemn the golf course, but nothing was ever acted upon with that. So this charter amendment would, kind of give the council the ability to go through that process and actually have it done. So aside from that, that's kind of where we're at with that.
Thank you, 2 minutes are up. Any other questions for Mike?
So the charter amendment would allow the council to start and complete a condemnation action
I believe-
without the administration?
It would
Yeah.
be with the administration, but yeah, it would allow the council to initiate a condemnation rather than.
Because right now you
condemnation
put
to
money in
us.
for condemnation, but the administrative branch has to initiate. So if they
Basically,
don't
yeah.
initiate, nothing happens. So this would give you the power to fund and initiate.
Yes.
Thank you.
That gave rise to another question. Would that be project site specific, or would that be across the board powers given to the city council?
Across the board.
It would be across the board.
Any other questions for Mike? Don?
Mike, Don Watson from Laie. Mike, we see the whole Ko'olalo district is under siege. We see Turtle Bay and its development. We come to Kahuku, we see the evictions of the tenants in Kahuku. We come to Laie, you see HRI destroying our land, our properties, our houses, our cottages, evicting our tenants, my tenants and my family. You see in Kualoa and Hakipu'u, Kualoa Ranch, John Morgan, they are making quiet title claims on Kuleana lands. It's going along the whole Ko'olalo district. We are under siege. Not only under siege, is about the repeat of the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom and now the Hawaiian land. The Hawaiians are being dragged in courts. For example, we have been dragging courts by the presenters tonight, HRI, PRI, and they are beating us up in the courts. But at the same time, the city, in its own, whatever government works they're doing, they are not even working along with any of the people whose lands are being under siege. All they're doing is working with developers and investors and people outside of Hawaii who are coming here to eat the land of the people of this land and everybody else who have lived in Hawaii for a long, long time. I would like to see Mr. Martin and the City Council take an active role in preventing the siege of the lands of the Hawaiian people and others that will be affected by all of this.